Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the AVP Galaxy YouTube channel. We have a motion tracker little mini episode for you today. We haven't done one of these in a while, but we had a new piece of news that's kind of been making the rounds, and we wanted to discuss it a little bit and share our thoughts about it. So, this is about FX Network's new Alien series. There was a recent interview with showrunner, writer, director Noah Hawley, where he's doing a promotional tour for Fargo season 5 as of late, and he recently spoke with KCRW's The Business Show about his upcoming series. And NPR critic and self-described sci-fi nerd Eric Deggans asked Holly about the show. The discussion starts with Holly reiterating some of his goals with FX's Alien, including the exploration of human societal dynamics. Why don't you read the quote, Aaron?
So there's I think Noah's talked about this in the past. So this part isn't the really
he does
isn't the thing that
mention
Adam's excited about.
Yeah, he does mention Romulus though, which is his first mention of it. So
Okay. So Noah says there's a moment in the second film where Sigourney says, "I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them screwing each other over for a percentage. I think there's something really intriguing about exploring humanity in all its goods and evils, and then trying to recreate for an audience those feelings you had in watching those first two films, which isn't easy in a franchise that has had 4 subsequent films and another film coming out soon. But I think I have some tricks up my sleeve." I think you're being a bit generous there, saying generous. Oh my god, I can't get my fucking mouth in today. Saying he talks about Romulus there, but that's
he
not that's
just
not
has
the
another
interesting.
film coming out soon. But
Noah's talked about this in the past. If you go on the news archives on AVP Galaxy, you'll find him mentioning that line specifically as well, that exchange specifically in some of his thinkings. And we know about the sort of class. I don't want to say class wars because that's probably a bit too overblown a statement for him to say.
well,
But
I don't know. I mean, you do listen. I don't know if you listened to the full interview that he did, but he does talk about wanting to like dive into the topic of capitalism quite a bit. So
yeah, well, I mean that's fair. But it's also he's mentioned things like the haves and the have-nots, and the equality of the different classes in the Alien universe. Alien is very infamously blue collar space truckers. It's very well known for that, and yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that somebody would want to dive a little bit deeper into that and explore it in one of the subsequent releases. That's not what you're excited about.
no. So there was another quote that's a bit more significant. And this is the one that's kind of making the rounds. Is he was asked if his series would connect to the Alien prequels, and from what he's saying, it doesn't seem like it. He emphasized his preference for kind of the retro lo-fi sci-fi tech that we've kind of
Which is
seen.
something is also talked about previously as well.
Yes.
But I think that that was always a welcome addition, well, a welcome comment that he made. I think because the the holograms and the slick glass monitors and touchscreens of Prometheus. And I know Covenant goes back to some more flip switches and stuff like that, but you still have like the big hollow tank table in the middle. So yes, it lent a little bit back into the retro, the tactile sort of set design, should we say? But it is still very much rooted in that fancy pants future. So having Noah talk about wanting to go back to the aliens aesthetic is very much something I'm quite looking forward to in terms of
Yeah.
production design and set
It's
design.
it seems, and I wonder how much of an influence isolation had in this, because it seems like that's also going to be the direction of Romulus a bit, is going back to
Mhm.
that clunky tech from the one um, posted set photo that we saw. It looked very Alien Isolation esque.
Well,
Um,
with the save point in there
yeah.
as well, you
So
couldn't get more obvious
y-
with the isolation call outs there.
that got us so excited because I don't think we've had a direct reference to a game in a movie before like that. So I know it's just a
In
phone
the
booth,
Alien
but
franchise, that is,
yeah,
yeah.
this is what gets us fans excited. But anyway, let me get to the quote here. So he also alludes to how he didn't really care for the idea of the xenomorph as a recently created creature. He's not the only one. But why don't you read the quote off, Aaron?
No, this is yours.
Oh, okay. So Ridley and I have talked about this and many elements of the show, Holly says. For me and for a lot of people, this perfect life form, as it was described in the first film, is the product of millions of years of evolution that created this creature that may have existed for a million years out there in space. The idea that on some level it was just a bioweapon created half an hour ago, that's just inherently less useful to me. And in terms of the mythology, what's scary about this monster is that when you look at those first two movies, you have this retro futuristic technology. You have giant computer monitors, these weird keyboards. You have to make a choice. Am I doing that? Because in the prequels, Ridley made the technology thousands of years more advanced than the
That's an
technology of Alien.
exaggeration.
A little bit of an exaggeration, yeah. Which is supposed to take place in those movies' future. There's something about that doesn't really compute for me. I prefer the retrofuturism of the first two films. And so that's the choice I've made. There's no holograms. The convenience of that beautiful Apple Store technology is not available to me. So yeah, if you want to listen to his full interview, head on over to KCRW that we have linked in our news post. But yeah, that got me. It's funny. Sil on our boards was saying like, just when I thought I couldn't get any less interested in the series, I get a little more interested in it. So, I mean, there's no way around it. The prequels were controversial and divisive to fans, and the main element of Covenant being divisive was that David created the alien. Now, I know some fans will try and say that that's not what the movie's saying, but that was very clearly Scott's intent, even though
Mhm.
the writer Alan Dean Foster found a workaround for that, where it's like, okay, well, he recreated it, whatever. But yeah, it just seems like, and honestly, we've known this for a while, uh, that the series wasn't really beholden to the creative choices of Scott or of the prequels. Um, which at this point I think is the right direction. I think
Mhm.
we need more of a back to basics Alien. I think Prometheus and Covenant were both very experimental. I enjoyed aspects of them, but I think they definitely rattled the lore a bit for a lot of people. Um, and I agree with Holly. I feel like the alien is more effective as this ancient Lovecraftian thing that has been around for a long time, perhaps longer than us. And yeah, you see the derelict ship in the first Alien film, that feels old. That feels like it's been there for a long time. So I always felt it didn't feel natural to retcon it as that just barely happened.
Yeah.
So
So, I'll leave the link to it on the end card when we're done. But a couple of years ago, I did do a bit of a bigger piece, a bigger video on that whole controversy. And Alien Covenant is a film I absolutely love until the alien shows up, because I know it always gives you a fucking chuckle
that
when I
is a
say that.
hilarious review for an Alien movie, yes.
Well, I like the proto-alien aspects of it, and I was the same for the pre-Prometheus stuff that John Spates did for Prometheus. I liked the proto, the earlier forms of the alien in those scripts and in Covenant, because when the alien shows up in both of them, it feels shoehorned in. It doesn't have time. It's very poorly handled in its portrayal in the films and those earlier scripts for Prometheus. But I'm conflicted, because yes, Alien is this ancient Lovecraftian creature, the cyclical force is one of the things that I was really interested in the early days of my fandom. It was the reason I was hunting down things like Destroying Angels, and it's a reason that I've since gone off and read Lovecraft stuff. It's that aspect of it. I don't necessarily agree with Noah Hawley in that it needs to be something that's evolved. It can still be an ancient million-year-old bioweapon as far as I'm concerned. And but I also like some of the thematic elements of David creating the alien. You know, this idea of it being specifically designed as a fuck you to humanity kind of thing. You know, with his own frustrations, his father, and I know some people don't like the idea of it being by a bastardized child of an impotent, angry, petulant synthetic. But on a thematic level, I think that's kind of fun. But for me, it's a balance of, do I like my aliens ancient and Lovecraftian, or do I like this gothic Frankenstein kind of story? So I'm kind of happy either way there. But I always preferred Alan Dean Foster's take on it, of it being a recreation of the work that the engineers had done. So, or a tweaking, sorry, should we say, of the work the engineers had done. But that is 100% not Scott's intent. Anybody definitively saying otherwise is missing the entire point of the film. But fortunately, there are outs. There have been outs for a long time, because, again, Covenant is deliberately ambiguous, regardless of the intent. You know, when you have things like this show come along and say, actually, we found some aliens over on this other planet, you know, whenever it ends up being set. Because I don't think we know for sure when they're setting the show at this point. But, you know, it's another one of those outs to that controversy from Alien Covenant. I'm not quite. I feel like Adam's excited to spite the prequels in some ways. Yeah, look at that face. That is the face of a spiteful man. And you know, for the fans that, you know, dislike the prequels that much, I'm glad that there's an element here going off that might be appealing, or you know, make you want to go and watch the show. So I'm glad it's there. As a fan who's sort of sat on the fence between the whole things, still excited for it. I'm happy to hear him say that, because I think I prefer it more as this ancient thing, and this idea that they've found another source out there that's been around a million years. Exaggeration there. I feel like Hawley was exaggerating his time spans quite a bit in that quote, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
And that's also been seen in recent media, like in terms of the games like Dark Descent.
Yes,
and
of
I
course.
believe in one of the books, was it Into Charybdis, that they talk about finding the xenomorphs or something.
Yeah, but that's all implied to be engineer sort of facility stuff.
Okay.
In that one. But
Well, that's what I'm wondering too, is if this is just in relation to David creating the alien, or if this is like, we're not going to mention the prequels at all, we're just going to move beyond them, or if there will be little nods to the prequels. If they'll say like, oh, the Prometheus expedition or whatever, if they'll mention it. And I have the same question for Alien Romulus: is, are we going to have any resolution, any mention of Orgai 6 or what might have went
I
down
don't think
there?
we will.
I don't think we will either, and that is my hope. That is my preference, because, like, again, I have a love-hate relationship with those two movies, because I was so stoked for them, so excited for them, and I've still rewatched them a lot. And there's things about them I like. I can sit down, I can enjoy, and I can watch them. But after getting that initial Alien quadrilogy and getting that tease of, or no, that wasn't until the anthology Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
Getting that tease of an Alien prequel, it was just so wildly different, and that's my own expectation, I have to admit that. But those movies are divisive. There's no way around it, and they have their fans. They should. There's elements about them that I think are really cool. And some of my favorite movies, a lot of people don't like, is, you know,
Ew.
So I get it, right?
Yeah.
But just for my selfish fan desires, I am ready for the experience like we had with Prey, where it's like most people just really love it, you know?
It would be nice to steer away from Scott. I do agree. And it sounds like Romulus and, I guess, you know, Noah's show. I really hope they actually give it a subtitle. It's not just called Alien the series or something like that, but that's besides the point. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm very, very much looking forward to Romulus. You know, I really do trust Fede to do something pure and primal and, you know, terrifying. And it's nice to have some news about the show that I think is a bit more universally been received positively. I think response to the show has been very tepid. I think it would be fair to say in the wider fan
Yeah,
base.
I would think so. I know some of the concept art that we dropped before had some people grumbly about
The
one of the
sword.
things in particular they were seeing. Um, but yeah, I'm very interested in both. I think the show can be the more weird experimental thing, um, and I think the movie can be the more back to basics alien film that we've kind of been
Mhm.
missing for a long time. Um, and we should be doing more of these motion trackers this
Yeah,
year because I'm sure official news is going to start ramping up for Romulus before long, probably within the next few months. And then the Alien series is, I think, getting back to filming this month. So hopefully, some stuff will come out with that over the next coming months as well.
indeed. It'd be nice to be able to do more of these as well. I do enjoy just these little snippets of talking nerdy about some quotes, so it should be fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Like I said, I'll put a link onto the alien controversy thing on the end of it. You can go give that a watch. Look at the facts and of the films and the way outs and the things that could have been done differently based on some of the scripts and stuff like that. They were. It was a fun one to write, I'll be honest, despite my turmoil on the topic, shall we say. Adam, where can folk find us?
You can find us on our website, avpgalaxy.net, or on any of the major socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads.
Took you a moment there.
We got to give some more love to Threads. It's trying to replace Twitter. It's hard to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening. No, sorry, watching. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been Corporal Hicks
And Rich Top
signing off.